Alright, Aura fans, time for the second episode of Review of the Day, which is Midnight City. Alright, anyway, here we go. In a dream, Oliver and Felicity talk about how he vows to stay instead of going off. He tells her that he loves her and then he bleeds from the gut. Oliver wakes up with a bandage around his stomach and one on his arm. He gets up slowly and makes his way to the other room. Tatsu is surprised to see him awake and gives him medicine to heal him. Oliver notices that Maseo was outside chopping wood. He then comes and tells Oliver that he shouldn't be standing. Oliver then learns that when the weather's better, Maseo will leave and that he should worry about Starling. In Starling, a girl is running around when a man chases her. Loreless the canary shows up and helps the woman get away. The man gets hold of the arm before Arsenal shows up. He helps her and tells her that they should talk. In the foundry, Roy is stitching up Laurel. Roy and Laurel talk and then Dick shows up to yell at Laurel. She leaves, upset. The next morning, Felicity is staring off into space at work when Ray walks up. He tries to talk her into helping him. She refuses, however, still upset about Oliver and Sarah. Thea shows up to Vern and finds out that Chase is there removing his gear. They flirt over the kiss they had before he leaves. Malcolm shows up and is annoyed that Thea hasn't packed. She wants the truth, but he refuses, so she says she's not ready to leave town. Roy walks nearby and notices the conversation. Laura arrives late to a meeting with her father and others. Laura learns that her father thinks Sarah's in town due to someone seeing the Black Canary. Palmer interrupts the meeting to add his input with Felicity behind him. Suddenly, the nearby glass window breaks and Brick shows up with tear gas. He threatens to kill the rest of those left behind. However, when he runs out of bullets, Ray tries to help us does Laurel. Brick got to the alderman, but not the mayor. In the mountains, Oliver sips from his drink when Maseo steps outside. Tatsu is upset with Maseo as he blames himself for what happened in Hong Kong. In Hong Kong 5 years ago, Oliver and Maseo followed the tracker to Tatsu and ended up at a club. Oliver then learns that he stole the Alpha and was giving it to China White to get his wife back. In the present, Felicity learns from Quentin that Sarah's back. She looks confused. Laura approaches the man she caught with her heel. Laura threatens to come up with crimes to get him in prison. He then tells her where she can find Brick. Malcolm enters his place and learns that Roy has shown up. Roy tells him that he will lose Thea when she finds out he's hiding her murdering Sarah. Felicity and Ray are at the office with her going to patch him up. Unlike Oliver, it was only a small scab. He tells her that he wants to do it for her. Roy and Laurel are suiting up when Dick shows up. He is pissed and tells Roy to stay close to her as they go to save the alderman. Roy shoots at one of the cars and Laurel jumps on the same one. She isn't graceful, but she manages to release the car with the alderman, but is attacked by Brick. They end up losing one of the aldermen being killed and thrown up a moving car. Ray, Palmer, the mayor, Quentin, and Laurel watch a newscast with video from earlier. Brick then calls the mayor and wants to meet with the mayor to parley. Thea is sitting on her couch when Malcolm shows up. He tells her that telling the truth is hard. He then mentions parts of the truth, the undertaking marking for death and his family being in danger. Laurel's watching the news about the alderman when Felicity shows up. Laurel talks about not putting on her sister's mask. Felicity tells her that it's about the people who they lost. Felicity says they are doing it for the people still alive. Palmer, the mayor, and Quentin meet up with Brick. Brick mentions how it is more like Brick City. Brick then offers a trade. Get out of the glades for the two aldermen. He then leaves. Felicity receives a call from Quentin who says they need help. Felicity mentions knowing where to find the canary. Oliver tries to talk Maseo out of leaving. Tatsu kisses him and tells him she loves him. Outside the cabin, Ray Shogul's men show up. Oliver hides, but Tatsu calls attention to herself. The couple end up killing the men. In the past, China White tests the Alpha and learns that it is a fake. Maseo and Oliver begin to knock out the men and take Tatsu out of there. They run out between guns and knives. In the foundry, Roy is upset about what happened and tells Dick of this. He pours them both some alcohol. He then repeated something Oliver said. Roy then worries about not doing it without Oliver. Lucy and Laurel show up and talk to them about the mayor caving. Quentin yells at the mayor, then heads out. He receives a call from Sarah, but it is Laurel who is talking as Sarah. She lies and gets information. Laurel cries briefly and tells Felicity information about tells Felicity information to be able to find the alderman. Felicity shows up late to her work and asks him for keys to his helicopter. He wonders why, but lets her take it. Roy, Laurel, and Dig use it to find the alderman as Felicity directs them using the pacemaker. Inside the warehouse, they go to check. The men go out to check the copter and get knocked out one by one. Felicity then directs them to a room to save the alderman. The four of them head out when Brick begins shooting at Laurel. She asks Dig for a way out. One of the surprises the man before escaping out a window to the helicopter. In the mountains, Oliver is getting dressed. He worries about Maceo for betraying the League. He then cuts himself and tells him it was due to Oliver successfully escaping. Tessa looks at her husband and is upset that he turns down heading up to Starling. He asks and remembers when they returned home. Maceo fills Oliver in how Waller had known Maceo would steal the weapon to get his family back. In Starling, Quint is approached by Laurel, not Sarah, and tells her how the mayor caves. Laurel tells him she'll explain everything another night, whilst pretending to be Sarah. Malcolm looks outside when Thea approaches. She tells him she isn't leaving and asks him why they aren't staying to fight. He then vows to stay, surprised at how she used her words back at him. Felicity returns the helicopter back to him. She also helps him out with what he needed, surprising him. She tells him it is so he doesn't end up dead. Thea's averted when Chase shows up. He brings up rumor leaving town, but she says they are false. Chase calls him Maceo and tells him that Merlin isn't leaving town, revealing that he is part of the League. Dun dun dun. So let's take a look at some trivia surrounding this episode. This episode is tied with Draw Back Your Bow as the lowest rated episode of Season 3 with a rating of 7.8 on IMDb. When Captain Lance refuses to move his police force out of entire district of the city, Brick replies, "They did in LA in '92. This refers to the Rodney King riots, where they quoted 4 policemen after their videotaped arrest of beating a taxi driver led to riots lasting more than 6 days over a widespread area of Los Angeles. While the police did not actually cede control to the rioters, they were unable to control the situation themselves, and the National Guard had to be called in. When Malcolm visits Thea at her apartment, she's reading The Fifth Assassin by Brad Meltzer. Meltzer also writes comic books, and his first effort was the 2002 Green Arrow story, The Archer's Quest. Ray says helicopters don't have keys, but this isn't exactly true. Historically, they did not, and not all do, but in 1974, the U.S. Army began requiring keys after someone took a helicopter without authorization. Even if helicopters don't have an ignition key, many have door keys. And now finally, let's take a look at a couple goofs. In a flashback to Hong Kong, cars are shown driving on the right side of the road. This is inaccurate due to the fact that cars actually drive on the left side of the road in Hong Kong as a result of British rule. While on the phone Mayor Castle, Brick directly quotes William Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. They stand and would have parley. Brick says the line comes from Act 5, Scene 2, but this line actually comes from Act 5, Scene 1. So overall, I think this episode is actually pretty good, and yeah, the whole thing with Laurel pretending to be Sarah and stuff like that is kind of interesting, I guess, but yeah, so anyway. So overall, I give Midnight City 3 arrowheads out of 5. Well, anyway, tune in a bit as we take the final episode of the day, Uprising. So, until then, in the words of Oliver Queen, you have failed this city.